Lady's Mantle, the alchemist for the ladies. Lady's Mantle was the key ingredient for alchemists who wanted to create an endless supply of gold. Christians, Celts, and magical creatures all have ties to the herb that was connected to health, youth, and vitality. And the experts agree that there is indeed truth to the ancient uses of this nifty little weed. And to think, today, most gardeners are determined to eradicate this stubborn little plant that was once so vital to women and communities across Europe. If only they knew how incredibly versatile this overlooked ground cover could be. It's thought that lady's mantle originated in southern Europe, but by the time it was first documented, it had spread all over Europe and Asia Minor. In the 1500s, the botanical name Alchemilla mollis was first coined. It got its botanical name because of its connection to alchemy at the time. Alchemilla refers to the wide alchemical use of lady's mantle, and mollis means soft because of the soft little hairs that line the stem and leaves of the plant. Lady's mantle collects morning dew on its downy leaves, and those droplets can remain glittering on the little plant well throughout the day without being drawn up by the heat of the sun. This is because of the fleecy hairs on the leaves. They hold on to water droplets and can give you the impression that a field is covered in tiny sparkly diamonds under the light from the afternoon sun. Alchemists believed that these twinkling droplets were the purest form of water, and they painstakingly collected them one tiny drop at a time to use in their experiments, especially when they were working to turn other metals into gold. Though lady's mantle's official name came from the alchemists, it had long since been a part of European lore and a common household medicinal aid for a great number of conditions. It's not hard to see why it had such a rich place in cultures and traditions. After all, many medicinal plants that were vital to keeping entire societies healthy in hard times were showered with stories and associated with religious deities to imprint their importance onto the next generation. It's no surprise that a beneficial plant that happened to be as pretty as it was necessary was especially embellished with fanciful folklore. Before we get into the great benefits of this charming weed, let's first take a look at how lady's mantle enthralled and entertained people all of those centuries ago. Ladies thought that the dewdrops that landed on its petals had the magical ability to restore youth. If you dipped your pinky toe into a drop at midnight, you'd wake up with fewer wrinkles tomorrow. But only if you did it on an evening in the month of May. And did we mention that you had to be naked while you did it? After painstakingly collecting individual drops from the small leaves, it was used to wash away blemishes and wrinkles and to smooth out the skin. There actually might be some truth to that last one, given the astringent qualities that lady's mantle possesses. But as for the former, no pinky toe, clothed or not, has ever reversed time as far as we know. And on another whimsical note, whenever cattle came down with any kind of sickness, their illnesses were blamed on elves that shot the animals with poison-tipped arrows, so farmers would feed them lady's mantle to counteract the poison. Outside of these amusing tales, lady's mantle was used to directly treat very real conditions, and very effectively so. It has astringent qualities. Astringency means that it has the ability to shrink and contract bodily tissues. It was used as a common household herb to treat minor scrapes, burns, and abrasions, both topically and for sores inside the mouth and nose. Combined with its antiseptic properties, it made for a very useful herb for homes to keep close at hand. It's been grown intentionally right around living spaces for centuries. We're sure all of those naked ladies appreciated the close proximity to their back doors when they found themselves outside on summer evenings. But mostly it was a valuable aid for women who suffered from debilitating cramps and excessive bleeding during their menstrual cycles. Since it works so well to treat menstrual cramps, it was often used as a mild pain reliever, along with other herbs, though it's most likely its astringent qualities helped the uterus and ovaries to contract more evenly, rather than containing any anesthetic properties that are more directed at pain. Besides relief for menstrual cramps, it was used to ease constipation, stomach cramps, and digestive issues in general, as a muscle relaxant, a common stress reliever, and a sleep aid. Astringency is vital to treating all of these conditions. This would explain why it was so effective at treating cattle. Even minor gastrointestinal conditions can be fatal to farm animals. Livestock has a habit of accidentally ingesting other poisonous plants that grow close to edible grasses that they might have been going for instead. This can cause such severe cramping, vomiting, and diarrhea that cows and sheep can just drop dead from pain, dehydration, and stress. Since lady's mantle was used to treat similar intestinal problems in humans, it makes perfect sense that animals could gain from its benefits too. Common scrapes, bug bites, minor burns, and rashes were sometimes treated by just crushing up the fresh leaves and rubbing them on the affected area. For outward wounds that had developed more severe corruption and swelling, The root was ground into a paste and applied directly to the injury. By the time Christianity had taken root in Europe, the church wasn't so quick to condemn the plant that had once been associated with the Norse goddess Freya's tears of sadness. The leaves looked so much like a woman's mantle hood that the church gave it the anglicized name, lady's mantle. Instead of condemning the pagan beliefs as they did with so many other cultural necessities, the church instead molded its beliefs around it. They encouraged the association with the Virgin Mother and the hood that she is depicted with so often. Old stories of elves and nude pinky toes disappeared from around the campfire, but the thought that the water droplets that collected on its leaves were pure and untainted held on. Around the 1500s, alchemists picked it up in their experimentation and finally gave it its official botanical name. And its treatment for women's monthly ordeals and to encourage fertility also remained strong well into the 18th century, until more modern forms of medicine finally became available, that is. It virtually disappeared as a household aid for more than 100 years, that is, until the 2000s, when explorations were finally taken to look into whether or not its historical use had any basis in science. And the research looks incredibly promising on that front. Studies in 2014 showed that applying lady's mantle for internal use resulted in a huge decrease in fungal and bacterial infections. Streptococcus, Salmonella, influenza, Candida, and E. coli were specifically targeted under laboratory conditions. In some samples, the reduction of bacteria and fungal matter was decreased by as much as 75%. In 2017, an even closer look was taken to its astringent qualities. Not only did lady's mantle heal wounds outside the body, but inside too. It showed a significant reduction in the size and level of infection in mouth and stomach ulcers, as well as throat infections. Then in 2020, a Chinese facility looked into its use as an anti-aging agent. What they found was that lady's mantle shrunk pores, giving the skin a smoother complexion that was longer lasting than most other anti-aging creams on the market. Its high antioxidant count also cleared the skin of impurities, both when it was ingested and when it was applied topically. And finally, the Dutch saw an unexpected effect on the reduction of cancerous tumors in mice. This discovery was completely accidental. What they were actually trying to test was the stress-relieving attributes of the herb, hoping to lower the heart rates of their rodent subjects. But besides reducing the stress levels of the sickly mice very well, they saw that a few of those tumors shrunk by around 30%. It's rather perplexing that those studies never went any further after such a bombshell discovery. It did, however, definitively prove that lady's mantle relieved the animal's stress levels successfully. So at least we can safely say that its use as a sleep aid, skin care, and wound application, thanks to its astringent and antiseptic compounds, are now definite. So our forefathers were onto something after all. Cures that lasted for 100 years, all proven in less than 10 years of study in our modern times. If science agrees, maybe it's time for us to reintroduce this almost forgotten wonder of the natural world. The entire plant can be used, fresh or dried. The root is by far the most concentrated source of bioactive compounds, antioxidants, and antimicrobial qualities. Here are a few ways you can prepare your lady's mantle. Fresh. It can be used fresh, by crushing up or grinding the leaves and roots into a paste. The leaf is more convenient to apply as a pore-reducing face mask or to treat minor bumps and bruises when you're on the go. But for a more concentrated effect for more serious conditions like acne, severe sunburns, and open gashes, the root is by far the most potent. If you use the roots fresh, give them a proper wash to get rid of any soil. Douse them in boiling water for good measure, just to make sure nothing from the garden is still clinging to them. Then you simply grind them down into a spreadable paste. Roots are tough, so an electric blender might make your life a little easier than doing it by hand. Long-term storage. If you have a short growing season or have trouble procuring it, roots can be dried and stored perfectly safely in your pantry. Freezing the roots is not ideal, since they lose their effectiveness when they are stored that way. But drying them whole is as simple as leaving a handful in a sunny and dry spot for a few weeks. Grind it up like you would if they were fresh, and you'll have a powder that can be stored on the shelf for up to 2 years. To apply, you just need to add a few drops of sterilized water until it forms a paste that can be spread on a wound. Adding that powder to pure tallow or beeswax is also a very convenient option that has a very long shelf life. Tea. Dried leaves are steeped in boiling water like you would any other herbal tea. The fresh leaves are totally fine too, but the high levels of beneficial tannin can give it a slightly bitter taste when they are still green. Herbs with complex flavors like lemon balm, sage, and marjoram will offset that mild bitterness. Or just a spot of honey will work just as well too. For menstrual cramps and pain related to endometriosis, A cup of tea every 3 to 4 hours should be sufficient to give you incredible relief, but there really is no limit to how much you can drink of Lady's Mantle. Tinctures. Dried leaves and roots should be stored in alcohol for about 2 weeks before your tincture is ready for use. The alcohol content will provide a sterile solution for any outward application before bandaging up a wound. Lady's Mantle isn't hard to find in the form of extracts, oils, dried roots, and leaves. It's readily available online, at apothecaries, and every now and then you'll find them for sale at farmers markets. But it's so easy and quick to grow on your own that you might as well just have it in your garden or as an ornamental plant right inside your home to save you the trouble of buying it. Could you ever guess that Lady's Mantle is related to the rose family? They couldn't look less alike. Lady's Mantle grows close to the ground and has wide bowl-shaped leaves. And when they are in bloom, their minute puffball flowers are so plentiful that they create a delightful yellow canopy wherever they grow. As pretty as they can be in the garden during their flowering phase, it's in pots where they really come alive. Since it grows so low to the ground, it can disappear amongst other greenery. But when they are placed in pots and planters instead, they spill over like a glittery yellow waterfall. By potting them, it also makes them easier to manage, because these ladies can spread like wildfire. They're often interplanted with other grazing foliage for livestock because they are so prolific. Even when grazers mow them down, they'll just bounce back from whatever little roots were left next season. When they die off for winter, give them a good trim and wait for spring. They'll send out new feelers and spill over again in no time. But keep those pruning scissors close at hand. If you want to keep them off your lawns, you'll need to cut back their flowers often to keep them from spreading their seeds all over the place. Lady's Mantle isn't fond of very hot conditions, and even if you do live north of the equator, where it's cooler, they'd still appreciate a shady spot more than they would full sun. Their last growth spurt happens in mid-autumn, and they will be the very last greenery in your garden to die back when the winter fully sets in. As far as soil goes, they don't really need all that much. They'll be perfectly content if you accidentally forget to fertilize them for a season or two. One treatment of any run-of-the-mill compost, once a year, is more than enough for them to thrive. You don't have to be an expert gardener at all to keep this easygoing lady alive. Have you ever heard of Lady's Mantle? Or are you thinking of adding it to your natural pharmaceutical kit as your next staple remedy? We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more herbal explorations. Tune in next time as we continue our journey through the fascinating world of medicinal herbs. Until then, stay curious and embrace the power of nature's pharmacy. Disclaimer: I am not a medical doctor. If you are on chronic medication, pregnant, or suffering from any health condition, please consult a medical professional. I am here to relay my own thoughts and opinions. My videos are entirely based on my own research and experiences.